Well, we never have two falls that are the same. And what a better time than now to come together and get us a couple of almost post and preseason updates from our friends over at Corteva. I've got Chris Kluemke here, nitrogen stabilizers market development specialist, and we are going to give kind of a season wrap up and a taste of what the environment has brought us. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me, Tanner.
So we got to talk to some of your team members a little bit about what to expect coming into this fall. And I'm so glad that we got to share with our audiences that we needed to wait till it was 50 degrees and falling because it seemed like that took forever to get here in the Midwest. And now we've got a bunch of rain, but you guys have been busy collecting data from trials that you put out this year. What kind of updates do you have there, Chris?
Yeah, thanks, Tanner. We've had a lot of trials out this fall. The nitrogen stabilizer sales team, we work closely with universities, retailers, and farmers to regularly test performance of nitrogen stabilizers and to ensure we're providing a proven, reliable return for customers each year. This year what we're seeing, fall and spring trials show NSERV and Instinct Next Gen nitrogen stabilizer helps maintain higher total nitrogen in the soil and higher levels of available ammonium as compared to a treated with a competitive nitrification inhibitor. Initial results have been proven to offer a yield advantage of up to 8 bushels per acre. We also have fields treated with NSERV or Instinct Next Gen nitrogen stabilizer in spring, showed up 27% more nitrogen in the ammonium form than the competitive samples 4 weeks after application. Fields sampled 6 weeks later also showed up 11% more nitrogen in the ammonium form than competitive samples, providing more nitrogen for corn later in the growing season. We all know we need some of that. Compared with non-stabilized applications, use of Instinct Next Gen nitrogen stabilizer as part of a split application has been proven to increase yields by up to 16 bushels per acre. And finally, we sat down, we had some replicated trials at Purdue this year, and we sat down with Dan Quinn. And once again, the best performance came whenever we were split applying. Farmers are starting to do that now, put a little on now and a little on later, and stabilizing both of those. And we saw very good results from Dan this year.
Those are the best when you can run side by side and you've got definitely the university teams behind you with making sure those trials are replicated in the right fashion. But now that we're talking about the wetter fall here in the Midwest that we've been seeing, why is it going to be important to put these products in with our nitrogen applications?
Because if you think about losing nitrogen, whenever it's cool and damp out, and if we get nitrogen into the nitrate form, that's when we're prone to a lot of loss. And if we're putting out nitrogen in November, we're asking that nitrogen to stick around until next August. That's a long time for it to stay in the soil. And so we need to do everything we can to protect that investment.
So how do those products that you mentioned protect the nitrogen?
So if you think about how we protect nitrogen, Instinct and NSERV, Instinct Next Gen and NSERV, work by slowing down that process of nitrification. So whenever we go from the stable ammonium form to the unstable nitrate form. And what we're doing is the active ingredient nitropyrin works to slow that bacteria down. So we hold nitrogen in that stable ammonium form rather than the unstable nitrate form.
Yeah, that's going to be important. Like I said, I know not everybody's wet, but it just feels like around here it's rained for 2.5 weeks to 3 weeks straight. We had a great harvest to be able to get the crops out of the ground. But now that we look towards 2025, because most of us can say 2024 harvest and that crop season's behind us, what should we be thinking about when it comes to nitrogen applications?
Yeah, thanks for that question, Tanner. It seems like we went from very dry and couldn't get the toolbars in the ground to monsoon season, if you will, and now it's getting kind of difficult. But we always recommend nitrogen application should be protected with a proven nitrogen stabilizer to get best possible return on a grower's investment and to keep excess nitrogen out of the environment. Farmers spend a lot of money on nitrogen. Anytime they are applying, we want to protect that investment as best as we can. A farmer doesn't go out and buy a brand new tractor and doesn't put some type of insurance on it. So we're just wanting to ensure that they get the most performance out of it. We also advise farmers and retailers to prep and calibrate their application equipment ahead of time so they're ready to go as soon as we get some conditions that are conducive to running. And make sure the soil's not frozen. Sure, they're moist. They're plain moist right now, but not too wet or muddy when they're applying.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big battle because I think guys will get anxious, especially those that have their anhydrous booked before year end, to make sure that we do it the right way and not just because it's the only way available. Well, Chris, I thank you for joining us, but one thing that we didn't touch on is how using these stabilizers is actually a sustainable practice.
Yeah, good nitrogen management helps prevent losses and keeps excess nutrients out of the atmosphere and the waterways. In fact, using nitrogen stabilizer like NSERV or Instinct Next Gen is recommended practice for our nutrient stewardship program. Whenever I'm presenting, sometimes I quiz them and say, does anybody know the fifth R? And that's a right stabilizer. And so if you think about Corteva's stabilizers, the active ingredient nitropyrin, that active ingredient is proven to reduce greenhouse gases by 51%. That's a big deal. And if you think about reducing leaching, we can reduce leaching by up to 16%. And if you think about all the nitrogen that's applied and all of the Instinct and NSERV that we apply, and if you apply that to the tons, that's like saving 21 million pounds of nitrogen each year from going down rivers and streams.
Yeah, that's a big deal. So it's exciting to have this partnership and to be able to share with our listeners. But how do you suggest if they want to learn more about these products, they go get that information?
So if farmers if farmers want to learn more about our nitrogen stabilizers, I invite them to go to nitrogenstabilizers.com or I invite them to visit with their local ag retailer.
Awesome. Well, it's great to meet you, Chris. We appreciate you taking the time to give us some information today.
Thank you. Appreciate you giving us the time.